From Fox 32 Chicago Sports, this is Chicago Sports Tonight.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to a Monday night edition of Chicago Sports Tonight. Lou Canellis with you. That Bears season, man, it was a script for Hollywood. A team that went from worst to first. A new head coach who taught his players to believe. A quarterback who threw Bears fans miracle after miracle, and at the end delivered heartbreak. For me personally, it was one of the most enjoyable rides I have ever been part of. And listen, I've been fortunate to cover the Bears' 85 Super Bowl shuffling crew, the Bulls' 6 championships led by Michael Jordan, the 3-time Stanley Cup champion Blackhawks, 2005 World Series White Sox, and historic 2016 Cubs. But these cardiac Bears, man, they never gave up. Every week was an adventure. Every week you felt like you were on the magic carpet ride living out a fantasy football season, right? I want to bring in Cassie Carlson, who helped bring us all the twists and turns of this storybook season. She was on the magic carpet ride, as I like to call it, as well.
A lot of reflecting going on during locker cleanout, and despite being just a day removed from the Bears' overtime loss to the Rams, many of the players said the foundation has been set in Chicago, and they believe that will carry over for years to come, and that's thanks to Ben Johnson.
He's been the catalyst for us, to be able to lead us, to be able to stand strong in tough moments and good moments, to be able to show emotion, be able to be who he is and be consistent with that and do what he said he was going to do. He's been everything that Chicago's needed as a coach.
We accomplished a lot. We have ignited a belief from this city into this team that this city believes in this team. I've been saying that Chicago deserves a winner, and just hoping that we gave this city something to be proud about.
Jaquan Brisker and Kevin Byard are both free agents, and while they both said they would like to be in Chicago, they said they haven't had any discussions with the Bears about their future yet.
I feel like I show them every game, every single practice. Even, years prior, I feel like I showed what I could do when I was healthy. And, this last season, the last game, that's my last one. So, I went out with a bang.
I definitely think there's mutual interest for me to be back, but at the end of the day, I truly don't have any real control over it. I think with, the success that we all had this season as a team, I think a lot of guys on this team is going to be coveted around this league, honestly.
Rome Odunze will take time to rest his foot injury that kept him out for 5 games this season, while also looking at how he can improve after calling what he had a disappointing season.
It really hurts just not, coming through in some of those moments throughout the whole season. It's not just last night. It's, several different plays. And not to say I didn't, help this team. I'm not going to sit here and say, I drug us down. I'm the reason. It's not the attitude that I have. But when I'm not making the plays that I feel like I can make and being the player that I feel like I am in this league, is disappointing.
Cassie, I couldn't sleep last night. I felt like the finish was a nightmare, and the Bears will still be playing for the NFC Championship next Sunday in Seattle.
Yeah, it really felt like this was a team of destiny, which we talked at points throughout this season. And I was standing in the end zone when Caleb Williams threw the touchdown pass to Cole Kmet. I looked over to our Bears photographer, Jeff Weiris, and we looked at each other like, oh my gosh, is this happening again? We made our way down the field to the other end zone to see if the Bears could score the game-winning touchdown or hit a field goal in overtime. And then we saw the interception happen. It was like, wow. What a ride. And the thing that I will remember is how silent Soldier Field got in that moment. And then I kind of walked across the field, walked towards the tunnel, and I realized that no fans had left their seats. They were all there giving the Bears a standing ovation. And I think that everyone shares the same sentiment, is there really weren't many expectations like this going into the season. And to see what this Bears team accomplished, how they changed the culture inside the walls here at Hallis Hall, how they brought Bears fans, this energized team, and with so many great personalities. That's what I'll remember most, is just how really truly great this team was inside that locker room. And I think that's what Ben Johnson wanted to make sure he hit home about yesterday after the game, calling it a special group, and everyone saying the same thing because of the resiliency, because of the belief.
What have you learned about Caleb Williams' bad throw resulting in the interception in overtime? Did DJ Moore run the wrong route? Did he not run hard enough? Was it a bad throw from Caleb? What have you learned?
This is one that I think we're going to be talking about for a while because it's one that, ended that drive for the Bears. And also it's the larger conversation of if DJ Moore's even going to be here next year. I will tell you, he was not in the locker room after the game. He was not in the locker room today at locker cleanout, and his locker was already cleaned out. And when we talked to Caleb Williams, he said he had not talked to DJ Moore yet about that play. He kind of chalked it up to a miscommunication. But here's more what he had to say on it.
Trying to just flatten him off under safety. And since the other safety was down, I felt like we had enough space over there, so tried to flatten him off, and just a miscommunication. His route is, to go deep and attack that angle, which he did, and we thought we were going to go under the safety at that point, and it didn't happen that way.
And so I think after that play, and you watch the route that DJ Moore ran, and you hear the commentary from Chris Collinsworth about how he feels like he kind of gave up on the route. I just don't think there's a good conversation around DJ Moore right now. And I think you look at the direction of this franchise, knowing that they drafted Luther Burden, they have a similar play style, and I would imagine that they have an idea of making Luther Burden their DJ Moore next year. And so I think he's going to be one that we're going to look out for. I think there was a little bit of a surprise that he didn't talk, and that's a choice that the player makes. And so he obviously didn't want to address it either. And I found that to be interesting and telling as well.
Yeah. That defense did a terrific job, Cassie. Held LA to 17 points before the winning field goal. You hold the NFL's most explosive team to 20 and the probable MVP to 0 touchdown passes. You're thinking, hey, we're going to win this game, right?
I mean, sitting in the press box, we were like, oh my gosh, this defense was playing with their hair on fire. And I didn't think that Sean McVay called the best game. Stafford didn't play the best game. And I do think that the weather impacted the conditions. Cole Kmet, I think part of his disappointment after the game too was he said, these conditions should play in our favor. And you just didn't get the imbalance in that, like I think a lot of people anticipated, because the Bears offense couldn't get much going at points in this game. But I mean, the Rams looked beatable. I think that's what's so frustrating and what makes the abrupt end feel worse, because you feel like going into that game, or I would say even at the beginning of the season, I thought the Rams were going to be Super Bowl contenders, and I still think they can be. But just the way the Bears defense showed up in a game where they knew they had to, I was like, wow, can you imagine if they played that way all season long? They left it all out there on the field. That was one of the most fun experiences, seeing how loud it was at Soldier Field when the defense was on the field and they were trying to make it so tough for Matthew Stafford and this offense, and they really did. They held Puka Nacua in check. They held Devontae Adams in check. The Rams didn't have much of a running game. I mean, it was really a complete defensive performance, which was fun, but also I think that kind of adds to the sting a little bit, because I don't think anyone expected that.
All right, I want to go look ahead now. Do the Bears feel like they're set up to win 11 games again and get back to the divisional round and maybe even go another round to the NFC title game?
I mean, a lot of the talk right now, I think that's looking pretty far ahead, because they just don't know what the roster is going to look like. If anything, the position that they're in right now is good because they have a foundation set with their head coach, who has totally changed the culture inside the building here. He said a lot of players have said they have the resiliency. They have what part of the foundation I think is important is they know the formula to get back to where they are. And what Caleb Williams said today is that starts in OTAs and training camp, of knowing the kind of work ethic you need to put in, having tough practices, practicing outside in the cold all season long. Those are all the important things that matter towards the end of the season. And even DeAndre Swift said it after the game. He said something along the lines of, like, they've worked hard. He worked harder than ever before. And that's a different approach or a different mindset that even he's had to have. And that's all thanks to Ben Johnson. And so, yes, you have your coach here. You also have your quarterback here. And I think that is going to be what's going to make free agency really interesting, because when you have a quarterback that has all those crazy plays, you think of the throw to Rome Odunze last week, you think of the touchdown throw to Cole Kmet to send that game to overtime. I think we all saw the look on McVay's face when he saw that Cole caught that ball and Caleb threw it. I think it was 51 yards through in the air.
He's
That's
like,
insane.
Oh man, it's going to happen to me.
Right, he's like, wow. That's going to change free agency for the Bears for the first time in forever, right? The guys are going to want to come here to play for Ben Johnson and to be part of what Caleb Williams and that magic. And so I think that's what's going to make the future so interesting, to see how many guys want to come here and how this suddenly becomes a destination for stars.
What do you think they need to do to get better?
I mean, the number one priority has got to be on that defensive line in my mind. The way they were so inconsistent of getting pressure, and Dennis Allen had to get so creative with different blitz packages to really affect a quarterback, I think is the most glaring need. And, you know, Montez Sweat will still be here. You wonder if they truly do bring in another elite blue chip pass rusher for the other side, if that would really free him up a little bit more. But I think that's got to be priority number one, because all those good teams that we look at, all the good teams that the Bears played, the number one concern was that the opposing defensive line. Then I think the secondary moves are going to be interesting. I think how Jalen Johnson comes back, coming off of a season where he wasn't fully healthy, he underwent surgery, came back, is going to be really interesting. What they do with Nahshon Wright, who at one point I felt like really deserved and earned a contract, a long-term contract in Chicago. Towards the end of the season, that kind of changed a little bit with just how he played. And if they want to try to get rid of Tyreek Stevenson, I think those are all really interesting moves. The Kevin Byard thing, I see value in Kevin Byard because of his veteran status. I don't think you can understate that. And I think Ben Johnson made it pretty clear throughout the season just how important he was to the locker room. And then, you know, leading the league in interceptions too is key. And he's on the back half of his career now. I think he still has a lot he wants to prove. And as I mentioned before, he said he wants to stay in Chicago if that's a possibility.
It's been a long ride for you all season long at Halas Hall, Soldier Field for the games, on the road with the Bears. How much did you personally appreciate this experience?
This season was incredible. You know, it's interesting, throughout the game, you get a lot of texts from friends, family, people who come out of the woodworks, and they're like, oh my gosh. And I'm like, I don't have time to answer this right now. A lot of the season, you get caught up in it. It's an 8-month season for us, and really it's become a 12-month season for us. The NFL is 24/7. And so I don't know if I fully appreciated everything yet, but I'm sure I will have a moment at some point this week when we don't come up here to Halas Hall, when we don't, you know, go into the locker room and talk to the guys, or there's no game to look forward to. This is my first winning Bears season that I've covered, now my 4th season, and if I could only explain the difference of the experience of covering a winning team compared to a 3-win team, a 5-win team, it is quite the stark contrast, and this is one that I'll always remember. The heart palpitations I got in the press box week after week, the belief even of last night, I was like, okay, I'm supposed to go down and do a hit on the field if they win. They were down 7, 2-minute warning. I'm like, I think I still need to go down. And to see Cole Kmet catch that ball in the end zone, standing on the field and the crowd erupting, I mean, those are all incredible memories that I'll have forever. And so I have the best job in the world. It's so fun. I'm so lucky to be around this team and to cover every good moment, bad moment, in-between moment. It is truly the best ever. So it's been an incredible ride this season.
Cassie, you were terrific all year long. What a season. It's been an honor that is for me to work alongside with you. And in a month, hey, it's going to be time for the NFL Scouting Combine, and you always nail it out there in Indianapolis. You're always getting all the big guests, so I can't wait for that, right?
Oh, I know. It's like, all right, the new NFL season is here in a month. Let's go.
Exactly. Cassie Carlson from Halas Hall. Thanks, Cassie. After a break, we will see how Danny Parkins is handling the heartbreak on a Monday night here on CST. Danny, we're all hurting. You're a Chicago kid in New York, 800 miles from home. A number of players couldn't find the right words to explain what happened last night, and I assume you are hurting like every other Bears fan out there today, right?
Yeah, it was a very disappointing ending to an incredibly enjoyable season. So I think the micro hurts because that was a winnable game, and it felt like, a couple of plays away, from the first drive. If Rome Odunze catches that touchdown pass and you go up 7-0, how much does that change the game? If DJ Moore accelerates through that route, what does that change? If the Bears were able to execute in short yardage, they were just 1 of 4, on 4th and 2 or less, which is just terrible. So they had it. The defense was great. Caleb was a miracle worker. And whenever we talk big picture, it's not hard to immediately say that this is an incredibly successful season and the future is very bright. But they easily could have won that game if they just make 1 or 2 more plays that, frankly, we expect them to make at this point.
Yeah, that's for sure. Caleb Williams talked to the media today, Danny. Admitted he still hadn't spoken to DJ Moore about the Bears' final offensive play of the season that resulted in that interception at the very end. Moore got out of the locker room before the media made its way into the locker room after the game. Tell me what you saw on that play.
Well, listen, I think Caleb pretty clearly is being a great leader there. He just keeps saying it's a miscommunication. If it was on Caleb, Caleb would say that it was on him. That was on DJ Moore. Now, you can make an argument that Caleb should not throw the ball, that it's too risky of a throw on 2nd and 8, but Caleb's a big game hunter, and there was a lot of open space there. I think that DJ Moore did not expect Caleb Williams to make the throw, and for some reason he loafed on that route, which is unacceptable given his stature within the league, within the team, and the time and score of the game. So unless there's an injury to DJ Moore that we do not know about at this point, which Ben Johnson did not reveal after the game, I think that play is pretty squarely on the shoulders of the veteran wide receiver.
And that is so surprising, isn't it? I mean, we saw DJ Moore last year, I guess, go through instances like this, but I thought this year was a different DJ Moore.
Listen, I think that DJ Moore has had more inconsistencies with the Bears than you would like. He had great moments late in the season. Obviously, we'll all remember the walk-off touchdown against the Packers. DJ Moore has been frustrated pretty clearly when he got that game ball a few weeks ago from Ben Johnson. He was about time. You know what I mean? He had been, it was, Burden clicked with him, with Caleb faster than it seemed like DJ did. Loveland eventually got there. Odunze last year, and Caleb, DJ Moore kind of felt like he just never was totally on the same page, which given his talents is frustrating. But now given his age and his cap hit, I could realistically see DJ Moore being on another team next year.
Yeah, that's for sure. It was just a week ago, you and I were still gasping about Caleb's throw to Rome Odunze on 4th and, 8 against the Packers?
4th and 8, yeah.
What did you think of the 4th and 4 heave to Cole Kmet in the end zone with 27 seconds left?
A miracle. Caleb Williams is a magician. He is Houdini. He is the one. He is Iceman. He is whatever you want to call him. Backing up to the 40-yard line and throwing that ball 50 yards in the air, to Cole Kmet in that spot is just impossible. It's Josh Allen, it's Mahomes, but I don't even know if they make that play. And it's a 1-of-1 type of throw that, someone asked me today at work, do I wish that he wouldn't have made the throw and they would have just lost in normal fashion? And I immediately was like, no, because it's just, yes, it makes the loss a little bit more excruciating and it drags it out, but it is just a reminder of what the quarterback of the Chicago Bears can do that maybe no other human being on the face of planet Earth can do. And it's a really, really exciting thing for the next decade of football in Chicago.
That's for sure. Down 17-16, Ben Johnson said he thought of going for 2. You think he should have gone for the win?
Listen, in hindsight, it's an easy thing to say yes, but I thought it was a pretty obvious extra point call in the moment.
So did I.
To be I try to first guess all of this stuff as I'm watching, go for it on fourths, all that stuff. Loveland is out of the game with a concussion. Your defense has been playing great. You're at home. The crowd is obviously on your side. And you stopped the Rams in the opening drive of overtime to get the ball back. So I thought it was a pretty straightforward extra point call in that spot. If this was the game against the Niners, and it's 42-40, if this is a shootout, I think you can make the argument of going for two. But they had been struggling so much in short yardage. I thought it was a pretty obvious extra point spot for Ben Johnson. I had no problem with it.
Let me give you a big picture question about the game itself, because, the Bears had a lot of drop passes. Ben Johnson, you touched on it, ultra aggressive again, giving up a pair of field goals and going forward on fourth down early in the game. I wanted Caleb Williams to do more with the football, run more with the football than he did. Do you think the Bears deserve to still win this game?
My favorite television show ever is The Wire, and there's a character in this. There's a moment in the show where there has to be someone has to go. It's time for a character's arc to end, and someone who's sympathetic to the cause says he doesn't deserve it, and then Snoop goes, "Deserve ain't got nothing to do with it." Deserve doesn't matter. Like, it's, you play that game 10 times. I think the Bears win 5 of them, but this was one of the 5 that they lose. And so I do think they outplayed the Rams for a large portion of the game. You got your best defensive effort of the season. Let's also talk about it. You had a lot of turnover luck this year. And in the last 2 weeks, you got no turnover luck. That's 5 fumbles by opponents that you recovered none of them. Both of those strips on Stafford bounce back to the Rams. So, those types of things have a tendency to even out. So, do I think they deserved to win? Maybe a little bit, but that's single elimination playoff football. That's just how it works.
That's right. In my opinion, best story out of this Magic season for the Bears, just watching the way the relationship grew between head coach and quarterback. And now I feel like it's going to continue to grow, because listening to Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams, I sense this respect that I didn't hear early on in the relationship. And it's respect that's been built over the last 5-6 months of working together. Agree?
Yeah, no question. I mean, Caleb has been pretty forthright about this. He was like, "Yeah, I didn't know if Coach liked me." And then he learned that was more just him and how Ben Johnson kind of operates and is a tough coach and those sort of things. And then you get to the end of the season and Caleb Williams is wearing Ben Johnson's high school jersey to the game and, choking back tears when he gives him a game ball at the end because of what he's meant to his development. I think Caleb, he followed Lincoln Riley, a great offensive college coach, to 2 different places, Oklahoma and USC. And then he got drafted, and he was with Matt Eberflus and Luke Getsy, and he saw what the other side of elite coaching can be. And he is grateful that, there's a lot of quarterbacks who are in the wilderness for a lot longer than Caleb Williams was. Caleb Williams was in the coaching wilderness for 1 year, and he found Ben Johnson. So I think Caleb is appreciative of the coach that he has, and Ben Johnson's clearly appreciative of the talent that he has in Caleb Williams.
I know you didn't hear it being in New York, but Ben Johnson told Jeff Joniak and Tom Thayer on the radio postgame show that Caleb's going to be, and I'm going to quote him here, an incredible player. I get the feeling more incredible than even Johnson envisioned when taking the job. You agree?
Certainly possible. The thing that I liked most from Caleb, after the game, he was talking about, in the offseason, he has to work on his footwork and his accuracy, because he knows that he knows he can do the spectacular because of his natural God-given ability. But 3rd year in the NFL, 2nd year in a system, he doesn't need to learn a new offense. He can just master the finer points of it. He's clearly talented enough to hit the layup. He's not going to be a 58% completion percentage guy for his career. You and I talked about it during the year. I thought naming 70% as a goal before the year was silly and unnecessary. because I want Caleb to take shots down the field and not just be a check down guy. But Caleb Williams is going to take a leap in terms of consistency between this year and next year. And, the Bears it's going to be hard, it's hard to get back. Every opportunity is cherished. You won't have the same turnover luck next year. You won't have the same offensive line health next year. But there's a lot of reasons to believe that this is the beginning of something special and not the end.
All right, so then what's the next step? What do they need to do to reach the NFC Championship and more next year?
I thought that in this game, you saw kind of the idealized version of what your secondary could be. That was Brisker's arguably best game of his career. We'll see if he's back. Kyler Gordon looked healthy and was good. Jalen Johnson was good. The secondary was there, and I think there's a lot of reason for optimism. The front seven has serious problems. So I would imagine, multiple draft picks and veteran additions to the front seven defensively. It's kind of like priority one. It'll be interesting to see what they do at left tackle. But the biggest thing to me is very clearly just, what does Caleb do? How big of a leap are we talking? Because Patrick Mahomes won the MVP of the league in his second year in Andy Reid's system. Lamar Jackson did it too. Now, Caleb's third year in the league, but I'm talking about second year in the system. Caleb Williams legitimately can be the MVP of the league next year. And if he's the MVP of the league, you don't need to get as many takeaways and you don't need to have as much offensive line health if you have a true superstar quarterback.
All right, I want you to hear something because, listen, what the Bears went through this year really electrified the city. It unified fans man, I haven't seen since the Blackhawks Stanley Cup titles. Even more so, Cubs winning the World Series was so special because it was historic, because I know so many fans, White Sox fans on the South Side, who refused to celebrate the Cubs World Series title. I just didn't feel both sides of the city coming together quite like I felt during this playoff run, especially after the Packers win in the playoffs. I want you to listen to Caleb Williams today on what it's meant for him to play for the city of Chicago in the Bears.
That was part of the reason why I said I can do it here, to bring life, to bring joy, to bring excitement, to being a Chicago Bears fan, to be able to cheer for us.